Okay.
So um, I'll just breathe a bit of blurb here. A note about SEO webinar. While we focus on SEO and boosting sales, this is an ongoing effort and will take time to complete the basics covered here. As this is a preliminary webinar, we'll only cover the essentials with plenty of questions and answers. Although some tasks require our help or a quotation, most can be done by the florist. And in addition, we plan many updates to make all of these more and easier or automated to do. So join our Facebook group to be alerted as new features are added to the platform. So in essence, it's me saying, um, you know, there's lots to kind of come, and there's also lots the florists can do themselves, and then separately things that we can do, and then separately again things that we can do, but we would provide a quote for. Um, One thing I also want to, early on, I want to mention is when a florist signs up for us, we charge like a one-off setup fee of £85. Um, and that it's a good start. But it depending on how competitive the market is for the florist is going for, that might actually not be quite enough in terms of how much content the website has. So for instance, if a florist is in a not a very competitive market, I don't know, someplace in England that's not super popular, like not London, for instance, then the fee that it goes to Amy, who's the onboarder, um, can do a pretty good job on that because it doesn't need to be super competitive. Whereas if a florist comes to us and they say, "Oh, we want to be very high for East London," they still pay the same £85 setup fee from it to Amy. Um, but because it's such a competitive market, there's only a certain amount, Amy can do. So this is why we obviously give lots of control to the florist so that they can add bits like content. The reason why I mentioned about content and things like this is you'll see that this is the kind of main pivotal point of SEO, but it will clearly explain it on the next point. So um, the first thing is to really understand the core kind of principle is we need to understand how Google's role is. Now, essentially, the most important thing for Google is that you continue using Google rather than Yahoo or any others. And you probably haven't heard of many others like Yahoo because Google is so important, and they're the one that everyone uses basically. And they want to keep that because obviously it's more money. And the way that people continue using Google is that they get kind of good, relevant results. So one way to, if Google were to do poorly for finance, would be if lots of people use Google and then they were showing really poor results that weren't related to the thing they're trying to find. So if I'm typing in restaurant and then it comes up with completely irrelevant, search results, or even search results still restaurants, but they're not the good sites, they're the ones that aren't useful, then I would stop to use Google and then I'd use like Yahoo. So the most important thing for Google is something that people enjoy using and is, you know, uh, it captures their attention and keeps them on the site for a long time. And our role is obviously we try our best our abilities to make every single florist site as useful and engaging as possible, but within the funds that we have. Um, so so that's the kind of the first thing I wanted to kind of get out from. Now, back in the day, Google used to the only way Google could kind of like work out, okay, where do we put the sites was based on trust. So like basically backlinks. So for instance, if you had a one website and lots of people link to them, Google would assume, oh, that must be an important, established, and trusted website because 100 people linking to them. But the trouble was what that was that people started to realize that, and then they would start to pay other people to give them links, and then that would cause kind of spam because it's not there, it's not in the top search results because it's a good website or a good business. It's just because people paid their way through. So there's been a kind of cat and mouse game between, Google and all the other businesses. Um, and so jump ahead, I don't know, 30 years or something. And what now Google is basically it's very like a person. So they kind of behave like a person. So if I'm looking for, let's say, someone who's does like kitchen refurbishment, as you'd probably expect, you wouldn't go to like the very first, result and then go, right, I'll choose him or her. You would probably go, okay, let me go to the Facebook. Do they have a Facebook? If they have a Facebook, do they have likes on it? Do they have reviews? Do they have comments on their posts? Are they established? So established could be things like, do they have a Yelp page? So if you just try the best way to imagine Google SEO these days is if you think about yourself looking for a service and then the things that you would do to check um, on the legitimacy of said company. And personally, if I was, looking for a company, I would probably check a few sources. I might, go to the Facebook. I might go, if it's more of a florist business, I might go to the Instagram. I might see how many interaction things are there. Um, so yeah, I mean that's a good start. So the next part in Google is okay, well, how does Google know if a site is, actually good? Because they can't rely on the backlinks anymore. And the way that Google has done it is they check for how much engagement there is. So if I were to go, I don't know, I don't know if you can see this, but it's a florist website, and you can see it's a flower garden one. Um, so instead of Google going, okay, someone's gone to this website, okay, great. They have to actually know some more information. Google will then track and go, well, how long have they stayed on the page? Have they gone to this section? And they're going, okay, there's some good text. I'm going to read this. Oh, and there's like, a Facebook thing there. Okay, that's really cool. And then they go down and there's some, good readable text. The font's not too small. There's some nice illustrations. Go to the shop. Okay, they got some really nice images. Now, obviously the what's happening also is not only am I just kind of interacting and going to different pages, which Google knows about, I might go to a form and I might fill in the form. And Google knows that as well. If I go to the online shop, if I go to this section, I click add to basket. Google knows that as well. So Google will then go, okay, there's a huge amount of engagement on this now, on this particular session. So the session is me, myself with the website. Um, and that's like a vote of confidence to Google. So if instead I went to a different website and for some reason it was really rubbish, like the pictures weren't good, it was blurry, the text was hard to see, not this one obviously because this one's actually quite impressive. Um, and then I go back to the Google search results. So instead of florist in, I don't know, let's see, Kent, okay, as an example. So obviously these are ones that are going to be quite highly ranked. So I've go to number 10 and I'm going to try and find now like quite a bad example. I can't promise I will, but we'll see how we go. Now, the further I go, you'd expect the more irrelevant and kind of worse a web page, because Google's then assuming so. Um, so you'll probably notice some of the titles are also changing as well. So they're kind of you know, some of them aren't super great titles. So when I refer to titles, I mean like the blue text you see here. So instead of, they started off with a florist in Kent, which were very relevant. It's now saying, a wedding's out of control, and delivery shipping. And, it just all these kind of completely irrelevant ones. So you go to the first page again, and then you can see the difference. So if I go to number one, okay, I'll go in there. And then we go to the first page and it's flower delivery across Kent, um, Wellington florist delivery, in Kent. So it's all kind of relevant there. And then, as I say, the further you go back, the less relevant. Um, so Google, the main thing with Google is the engagement. And, one of the ways we can really help with that is with Amy's role. And then Amy can then help improve um, the website engagement. Um, Now, the other ranking thing is you can kind of assume is if a florist is popular, then someone will type in the florist name. So it'd be something like instead of florist in Kent, they might search for say floral creation Kent. And a bit like I was saying about how the backlinks work for the interaction works with a vote of confidence. So does typing in the brand name. So, for instance, floral creation Kent. And as soon as someone types that in, again, that's saying to Google, um, this is a trusted uh, florist because the person has they typed in the brand name like this, you see. So that that helps with what can help to promote that is actually kind of like in-person sales and word of mouth because as soon as someone hears about the florist, they would then type in the direct name of floral creation in Kent, rather than typing in florists in Kent. Okay, so brand searches massively help. And then I've put backlinks as the last one because backlinks are still important. And I'll just briefly go over that. So if let's say you had a bunch of links um, from different sources, but in your local area. So you had a backlink from a wedding venue, a another backlink from a wedding photographer in the area. If I put wedding photographer in Kent, and I go to their website, for instance, on here, some of them have links to a local florist. And that's highly relevant because the Google knows about general locations. So if they know that there's a business nearby, which they trust already, like so this one is obviously quite trusted because it's quite high on the Google ranks, and then they link to that florist, again, it's a vote of confidence. It helps with SEO. So whilst backlinks are good, it does depend on the type of backlink and the relevance. So, wedding photography is quite related to floristry. So, that's going to be very helpful. Um, so that's generally how Google ranks websites these days. Um, they've, they've got a lot of, insight into how people interact with a website. And this is why when I started to learn SEO about 3 months ago in a far deeper level, everything on the internet was just saying this point in the same direction. It's not really about just backlinks anymore. A lot of it is about interaction. So I don't know, let's say if for instance, I went to this page here, and it's taken ages to load. Okay, so I might go back straight away because I don't like it. Um, so that's not like a positive thing. Whereas if I go to this one and I go scroll down, I'm impressed. I've got like, there's some um, award winning logos. I've got some really nice images. Um, I can scroll down. I might be able to click some of these. There's another quote. There's information about the person. And that's also a huge topic as well. So um, in general, we found out from all the 150 plus florists that the more the person can connect to the florist, rather than just kind of, oh, here's some flowers, purchase them. The more they kind of learn about the person, the kind of, the more we've seen success. It's not like that they have to put a huge amount of information down. I mean, even a photo of their workshop or their the work area can really help as well. So that can again increase engagement because the visitors stay on the page because they want to learn about the person because they read the text. So it's pretty straightforward in that respect. Um, I'll just pause here because I do want to let some people ask questions before I continue on, if there was any question. Okay, well, I got three people on mute so far. I don't know
I've
if
got a question. Sorry, I had to shut the door. The dog was barking.
that's fine.
So the blue text that highlights in on those on when we brought up the searches, that
Yeah.
is what we put in our titles, is it, on our page?
Well, actually, we do most of that because uh,
Okay.
we can give you control over that. It can be something that we can do in future. We basically we used to allow florists to do that.
Or we probably
And
break
then
it
a
a little.
lot of florists, because they didn't know about SEO, they were putting in words that they, assumed would be good, but would be very bad for SEO.
Okay,
Um,
fine.
so, for instance, that brings up a good point that I was going to mention. So, some florists um, go to this page and they'll put in, something like, wonderful wedding flowers like this. And
Yeah,
it's just a really bad
doesn't mean anything.
thing. Yeah, because it's not a keyword, which I'll go on to soon. But
Okay.
in future, we can allow florists to do that. But the only thing is, we will then um, add a notice to say, caution, if this is an SEO optimized title, you can really harm your chances. Um, so, it's something that obviously we can add. Yeah.
Oh no, that's fine. I just thought it was that, but if it's not, I don't want it. I might break it. It's fine.
No, it's fine. I think or the a good thing is what you can do is what's your do you know your a general location that you're targeting?
Yes.
Okay, what's the location?
Gospel.
Okay, so if I do florist in Gosport, um you can see what the other ones are like. And it's not that, some of them are quite bad. So it's not like you have to, go by these. I mean, for instance, that to me is a bit more, I mean, I know it's straightforward, but this one's drawing my attention a little bit more, partly because it's longer, and partly because there's a bit more information. It says delivery, same day delivery, by 2 p.m. And I mean, let's have a look. So this one's saying trading 30 years. So um, it's just something that you can check out and go, okay, well, I might put this one, and then you can have a better one, basically, if you wish to. And
Okay,
each
cool.
page, obviously, as you probably noticed, is different. So if I do wedding, florist, and gospel, um, you'll notice that there's, it's slightly more wedding orientated ones. But sometimes you don't get a very competitive area, and then you can do really well in it because a lot of the ones aren't bothering to make a better page. So this one's still got the same one, even though that's I've typed in wedding florist. So it's something to bear in mind. So going on to keywords, this one is you know this is going to be quite a big point, and I will include it in the videos as well. But sometimes you get like a florist, and they'll choose a certain keyword. So let's say they're in the market for gospel, and the amount of searches for gospel is maybe 200, and that's fine. So there's 200 searches per month. So it's saying what that's saying to me is it's competitive, but not extremely competitive. If it's extremely competitive, then it can be very difficult because it takes a long time to get through there. So when a florist comes to us recently, when we onboard them these days, we'll say, okay, we'll look at them as a holistic kind of fashion and say, okay, how long have you existed? When did you become established? If it was in the last 2 months and you don't have a Facebook, or you do have Facebook, there's not many followers, then going for something like Florist in London is just not attainable. What you can do instead is we'll go, okay, well, depending on how popular you are already, we can then choose a more appropriate keyword that has, at least some searches, so you'll get some sales, but not like an extreme amount, so that you're not going to get through the competition. So 200 is generally like a good rule of thumb. Florist in London does have like 3,584 searches. So if a florist wants to come up for florists in London, they do need to be very well established, at least probably, 2 years. And if they're not fully established, and they would then need to pay. So they would need to pay like Google AdWords and probably like another marketing team that would then, increase backlinks. They'd also need to pay to make their website, more impressive than all, many of the existing search results, which is, it's possible, but it does take, either time or money. Um, so this is quite a big thing. So this is why, we've made a big effort in terms of on the marketing page, because each florist now can see, you know, how many searches, for the keyword that they've chosen. Um, it's worth mentioning that, you know, overarching the whole thing of this is the point is to increase SEO and help florists. And some of the ways of doing that, we can provide packages for. So I'm going to discuss with Amy in future about what she can do, and with like providing a quotation to make the florist sites, like far better, basically, much more engaging. And the other movement that we've got is the kind of feature that we've got setting out, which is quite new, but we haven't, we've released it, but it's not very popular yet, because we haven't spoken much about it. But one of the reasons to increase engagement and interest in a website is because it looks bespoke, it's really good, it's like engaging, it's got some really good images, unique layouts, which I'll show you some examples of shortly. But we can now do that because Amy's got the control to add unique parts on the websites, on the pages. So you can go down to like add block button on here, and you'll be able to add unique the sections that she makes. And that's going to be quite a big deal. So let's say, for instance, if I do Florist in London, and just do, let's say, there's a couple that I quite like on here. So we go down. So this will be one of the good sites that we could, replicate. So you've got on here, you've got 3 sections with different images, and then a button below each one. So that would be like a custom section that we can reproduce. Then you've got down here, you've got like a really nice background image with text over the top with a button. Again, that wasn't available before, but Amy can make it so. And you scroll on here, and then you've got, I think this might be like an Instagram feed, but that's possible with a thing called Elfsight that we encourage the use of. Elfsight is this optional add-on that I'll just show you, for instance. So just quickly go here, go to widgets. Again, this will really help a florist out. So it doesn't take too long. I mean, we add it to for florists on their behalf. As long as they sign up for an account, we can add it to them, to their sites, and it pulls the reviews from Facebook and puts it on the homepage.
Oh, is that like what you did for me on it?
Yeah,
You added Instagram for me, I think. I'm
yeah,
just
that's
trying
right.
to
Yeah,
look.
yeah. So there's
Um,
Elfsight do lots of different ones. Um, so if I go to Helen Sheard, let's have a look at your homepage.
at the
So
bottom, it's near the bottom, I
yeah,
think.
let's have a look. Yeah, so you've got the
Yeah,
Instagram one,
yeah.
but they do other ones as well, like the Facebook one,
Okay.
which are really good as well. So again, it's all about kind of increasing engagement, and that definitely helps, because otherwise,
Thank you.
if you have just like testimonials in text, it's fine, but it's nowhere near as engaging as, like the Elfsight one with, the different pictures, the 5 stars, and also the link back to the actual specific review. So the keywords is, I'll give you an example. Let me try and let's have a look at some of these ones. So if I go to marketing, so we spent a lot of time lately on the improvements page, and I'll go through that briefly. But wanted to give an example of some keywords. Okay, so it's just loading at the moment. The reason why it takes some time to load is because it checks all different things on the website, and it takes some time to check them. If I go to okay, so this one is an example saying your currently set keywords 119 and then 177. So it's competitive, but not such a low amount that it's not worth it, because you can choose like a one that says 5, and you could get to Google on the top one very quickly, like on here for instance. But if there's only 5 people per month, it's just not worth it. It's not enough people. So that's the kind of keywords that I was referring to. And to reference and actually show some solid like kind of proof of the engagement that I was referring to, this improvements page really shows it now. So for those uninformed, we've put a lot more features on the improvements page, and one of the sections is this one. The reason why this one's at the top, the engagement rate, is because it's in my opinion is the most important. What it's saying is, of the people that go to your website, how many people actually stay and interact. And you'll notice that this one on average, it's not doing too bad. It's like an orange, you know. So I'm just going to check the okay. Oh yeah, Amy's responding to the chat. So this one's not too bad. Anyone who's on the line, I can change it to yours and discuss it. So I'm happy to, if anyone wants me to just check their stats on here.
Yeah. Can you check mine, Tom?
Yeah, what's your?
Just Anne Flowers.
Okay, so just down.
Hi, Helen.
Hi, Anne.
How you doing? Yeah,
I'm fine, lovely.
Yeah. This is good, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm
Very good.
learning.
Yeah, me too.
So this one, you've got Halstead and Sudbury, and they're 123 and 112. So that they're good to target. They're not like we're not going like entering the 500 stage where it's
No, it looks
500
rubbish.
people per month,
Yeah.
searching, which is then quite competitive. One thing that Florist can do is, if it's still quite difficult to go and rank higher, for instance, if for instance Halstead, the selection on the Google was quite, they're all very good website, it's quite competitive. Instead of targeting 2 keywords, you can just target 1 keyword, and generally that's a bit more powerful. So,
okay.
you can go, okay, let's hone in on Halstead. Then once you are ranking well on, for Halstead, like I know, let's say within the top 8, you can go, okay, well now we can kind of branch out to Sudbury. But we have had some florists in the past, and they say, oh, I want to select 3 keywords, and they're recently established, and all the keywords are 300 plus, and it's just harder to get a good performance on all 3, especially when they're very competitive. So it's better to kind of go with an easier one first, then get higher, and then you can branch out. So I'll just go here.
Just to use 1 really then.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So on here, for instance, we've got some basic things. You've got obviously recommendations. These are all kind of general, so it's not like you have to follow it like gospel or anything like this. They're just kind of general recommendations. The reason why there's a bunch of them saying less than 200 keyword, or less than 200 words, is from our basic research that website a page with more than 200 words is generally more engaging than one with, I don't know, 50. Because again, it's about someone's going to spend more time on the website, and then that sends a signal to Google. And you scroll down here, it's good, a few wins. I won't go into the sort of super details because it can take long, but you've got like a wide delivery area there, so it's suggesting to expand the delivery area, but it's all kind of based on if someone can do so. On here,
so I just need to have a good look and fiddle around.
Yeah, well, so on here, for instance, you've got filter by. So I'll click the plot missed orders, and this can be quite insightful to to a florist delivery location. So if I click all years, basically all time, all the red ones are where you've missed, or someone wants to do an order, but they've been unable to
Right.
based on that
Oh, I see. Right. Yeah.
on the plot missed orders button there. And so, you might go, okay, well, if I just went a bit further, if I just, don't worry, I'm not going to save this, but if I move
Yeah.
that bit up there, I'm going to capture those. And
Yeah.
there does seem to be a trend, at least in that section, which is what, Barnardiston or
Oh,
Handon? Is it
mm. Yeah.
Hundon?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
There's,
Yeah.
quite a few Hundon ones there. So in future, if you click save on this one and there was more in future, you would then get those.
Okay. Right.
So
Lovely.
if I scroll down a bit more, and again, these are general ones that are saying that, there's no backlink from Find a Florist. That one we have had a bit of trouble with because they seem to be demanding about 25 a year, which we never recommend paying for backlinks.
Mhm.
It's only if if you've got plenty of cash, then by all means feel free. But we're trying to save florists as much money as possible. And backlinks, whilst they are very useful and can be effective, you kind of want to get backlinks like more naturally. So if I go to, I don't know, let's say for instance, let's have a look at this one, businessdirectory.org. I think you can so there's a free business one on this one, so you can add this one for free. The reason, again, a bit, there's so many, like lots of things to mention, but the reason why florists in town generally do a lot better in SEO and Google and in general sales is because as soon as you have a established address, lots of websites like this one will automatically add the website on it because they're trying to add as many businesses. But if you're a home florist and you keep your address private, these won't add it. And so obviously we're trying to find out ways, and we're still working on this, of helping florists have an established address but not publish a private one that they don't want. One of the ways is obviously you could probably register an address that's not on your location, and then use that as the florist address. But basically, the general thing is that it's quite hard. It is more difficult to do well on Google if you don't have an established address. So it's something that we're going to obviously work with florists with, because we do have a lot of home florists on our platform, and giving them a solution and the best way to do it is one of our goals. I mean, some florists don't mind their location published because they actually do run from home and they do allow collections from home, but some do not, probably maybe 50% don't, and therefore they're going to struggle a bit more on Google, especially for, like, let's say for instance, if I go florist in Kent again, and then you'll see there's the Kent map, and if a florist hasn't had their address published, they're probably going to not show up on this section, and this map pack, as they call it, shows up before the search results, the Google organic search results. So it's it can be more difficult, basically. I mean, some florists, they kind of go the middle ground, so they'll set up their florist in like an industrial state, or some other place that's out of the town, but it's still got a published address. But we don't have a perfect like solution to that yet. The only one I can personally think of is having your address registered, like, I know, limited company, for instance, to a different address, which I personally do have. Florist Touch is registered in a fancy place in London, Kensington. It's all legal, but I personally don't want to publish my own address, so I use things like a company wizard. It allows you to register an address basically with them, but there's other ones as well. But but obviously you want an address that's near you, because otherwise then Google will get confused, because you're saying you're in Kent, but you're actually, your business address is in London, so you need to have an address ideally registered where you are. Scrolling down, We've got this thing which is I'm quite proud of. It's a photo quality check. So obviously we can't have any AI telling us if a photo is good or not. But what we can do is we can show you the best sellers. So each of these photos is from a different florist, and they're the highest selling of the whole platform. So that one, it must have sold over thousands and thousands or something like this. This one's slightly less so, and it goes on slightly less. But the reason why I wanted to show this is to actually see what is selling the best and why. Now, my personal opinion going through these is they're very different styles, but the key and similar theme for me at least is, I mean, obviously they're good looking products and and bouquets, but the one thing that stuck out to me was they're all very good in actual photo quality. So they're not blurry, for instance. So if you were to go to this one, it's just, you can see the details. And it's also got like a nice background that's not too distracting. So, that's something that it's basically just good for florists to be aware of. And then we've got a few other bits as well. You can do the sympathy.
Tom, sorry,
Yeah.
can I ask a quick question? I sometimes use my Posh camera to take pictures, and they look lovely, much better. But then when I try and add them to the website, they don't always upload. And is that because I need to change the, I don't know, something fancy? Do I need to do something fancy on it?
Generally, no. Like if you've got like one of the DSLR camera, if it doesn't load, just send the photo to us so that we can find out why it's not uploading.
That'd be good, because sometimes it just comes up as a black box, and it just doesn't like it. So I think,
we did fix an issue recently where a florist had an iPhone, one of the new ones, and it was uploading a black box, and then we fixed that. So it might already be fixed by now. So because we updated the thing that uploads the photo, basically.
All right, I'll give it another go. Thank you.
Yeah, that's all right. So so the engagement rate, this is from Google itself. So we just take it from Google, and then we find out what it is. So for instance, how long people are staying on the site, how many people filling in the form. And if any florist has like a low engagement rate, Google will, very likely not put that one higher on the search results, because they're basically saying, well, we can give, customers this search result, but a lot of people just are not engaging. They're not liking the search. So I'll give you one key example I did really want to get across was if I do wedding florist London. Okay, so let's see, there's a few of these ones. Avoid the pop-ups. Okay, so find the good example. Okay, so this one's quite an example. So and I'll compare that to one of ones that we've got on Florist Touch. So I'll just pick a few of these out at random. Weddings. So that one's actually quite good. I'll find an example that's not as good. Okay, so this one is like a typical example, so I'll use that. So I'll go to the homepage, and this is where kind of Amy would come in. And I go to the homepage, the page I've landed on, the wedding florist. I'm scrolling down. Straight away, I get this nice, collage of images, obviously from the same wedding, it looks like, same theme. Then I get these different buttons. They're saying, different types of sections. So one of them saying weddings ready to wear, weddings bespoke. Then you've got these, I guess they're supported, and they're probably featured on these magazines, I expect. Then you've got a whole nother section that says bespoke weddings, and then a view bespoke wedding gallery, ready to wear. You can kind of get the gist. Basically, my point is it's very comprehensive, and I'm personally probably going to spend quite a long time on this page because I'm thinking, okay, there's a lot to take in. It's really good. They've got an Instagram feed there. It's just really engaging. And if I go on here, for instance, okay, straight away I'm presented with, a title. So text, then more text, which text is fine, but it needs to be then, kind of divided with other features and things like this. And then a few images. Like not that many like photos, for instance. And then I've got like a wedding form. So I'm personally probably going to go with this one if they were within the same, area. And this is what we're really trying to get across is to once we get the engagement, increased for all the florists, as many as we can, the more success I have basically. So yeah. Is that quite kind of understandable?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I'll just go back to the as it says on here, oh well, all things considered in terms of improving SEO, it will still be somewhat relative to the other florists nearby. So it's worth checking other florist websites for the keywords you're targeting. So if any like kind of volunteer wants to mention their own site, and then I can see some of the ones that are, kind of competing.
Yeah, you can do mine, Tom. Helen Sheard, Floral Designs.
Yeah.
So I'm quite low on the list.
And do you know what is it? Which target keyword are you going for?
I think I've got Brentwood and Chelmsford. If I look on those statistics that you've just shown us on the improvement page, I've got Brentwood and Chelmsford.
Okay. You got Ingstone?
And Ingatestone as well.
Okay, Ingatestone. That's one. And then you got Blackmore and Brentwood. So I don't know which one. Let's have a look. Do you know? Can you read back the numbers?
I've got Brentwood is 358 and Chelmsford is 534.
Okay, so they're quite
on your current set keywords.
Yeah. So if I do florist in Brentwood, I'll ignore the ignore the paid ones. And then I'll just open a few of these. So
I'm quite low down on the list.
So I'll just give this one could be an example of what's happening with the competition and things like this. It's not that Google's always perfect. I mean, you can get a lot of search results that are actually quite poor. But it's because they're high for other reasons. So they might have like lots of backlinks, or because they've been established for a long time, or they've got tons of likes on Facebook. So if I go to a few of these, I'll ignore that one. So this one's into Flora. Okay, so you've got this one. I mean, I'm not super impressed by that one, really. I mean, I know it's into Flora, so kind of skip that one, but I'll go to here. Again, I'm not super impressed. So what it's saying to me, Helen, is whilst your site's not high, you don't have exceedingly tough competition. Maybe just basically based upon my own judgment of, okay, well, how good is the website? I might go, oh, you know what, I'm not actually interested in that. There's a lot of photos that looks like a stock photo. A lot of these ones.
It's not personal, is it?
No,
I think. Yeah.
No, exactly. So, I might go back on that, quickly, and then Google obviously know that. This one again, I'm not super impressed. It looks very old.
Again, stock images, they don't look their own. They look like they come from a catalogue.
Yeah, absolutely. So if I went to, I'm trying to do a more, more impressive one, let's say. So if I went to, I don't know, florist in, well, I tell you what, maybe I'll show the map, and then, so this is the keyword map.
Yeah, blimey.
You might have seen some time ago when we first set up the website, but if I go to some of these, so let's find out. So you'll see if I start to zoom into London, the numbers just shoot up of how popular they are. So if I go to see, London's got 3,500. So go for.
Is that the cat, Helen?
It is. Yeah, he wants his tea.
Oh,
but I'm ignoring him. So he's not happy.
Oh, Doug will start making noises like that in a minute. Oh dear.
Yeah.
So this one's it's a bit better. I'm not saying it's great. Stock images again.
Mm.
And you got direct to Florist there. Let's have a look. Again, there's a lot of kind of let's have a look at some of the other ones. Just trying to find Florist in Stanmore. Okay. Again. So yeah, I mean it's you do get a lot of these established ones that are doing well on Google, mainly on the basis that they've existed for like a long time in there because they got a shop in town. But there is more and more florists kind of going from the town to home ones. That's like something that I've personally seen. So I mean the highest performing one that we've got on the platform is Amelia Rose. And then you'll kind of start to see, I mean this is all like their own photos, so they've got custom illustrations. They've kind of laid it out like that. I mean that's been a recent change. But the point here again is about how interesting it is. So I might spend quite some time on this because they've got different like sections. It's quite interesting. The shop, I'm not massively, I think, I don't know, they could probably put some pictures on here, but either way they do well, and they've got nice pictures. They've got some branding on there as well, which for the market that they're in does very well. Obviously it is quite a specific example of a theme, and then you get different types of obviously florist designs and things like this. So basically the point I'm making is you get different kind of results and quality based upon how competitive it is. But for the most part, so far we've only seen the kind of Interflora ones. Let's have a look. What's the one that you're Helen? Sorry, Anne. What's the one you're talking? Is it Gosport?
No, I'm not Gosport.
No, that's me.
Bonnie.
Which one? Do you know what your one is?
I think it's Portchester actually, because they're the keywords on mine, and that was one of my questions was going to ask. Google doesn't like you copy and pasting the same thing on every page, does it?
No,
it doesn't. No. This is how we kind of get around the florist in Portchester kind of scenario.
How do you mean in terms? So you don't want to copy and paste?
No. But I thought it didn't like having like the same thing, the same kind of wording on every page, because it's got to be attractive, isn't it? Attracting those words as opposed to going on your picture of a bouquet you're writing flower delivery Gosport, flower delivery Portchester, flower delivery near me, that kind of stuff. It's how we can up that word, those keywords, without being samey. Or is that not really a thing?
Okay, I understand now. So can you provide the address, your website name?
Oh, Solent Stems.
Okay, Solent Stems. This one?
Me.
Yeah. Did you say yes? Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. So if I were to go to the wedding, I mean, this one is a step up in my opinion, and you've got different sections. It still can be a lot better because when we do those custom sections that I was referring to, any florist will be able to add it. So you'll basically go to like edit website, weddings on this one, for instance. I know I'm not logged in.
When you said that Amy can give you different blocks for the interface, is that
like different.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So for instance, I'll try and find. So like here, for instance, she could make this kind of thing where it's
and with that, and is it kind of like a selection box where there will just be a few to pick from, or do you have to tell her what you want?
No, you'll be able to choose. So
okay, so be like a selection box. You go, I fancy that one, I fancy that one,
yeah,
and I fancy that scrolly text. blah blah blah.
Yeah. So you can click add block, and there'll be the
Yeah.
block here, and
Okay.
it will say like, we will do like a thumbnail so you can see what it is, but you'll be able to see, oh, that section looks like this, and then you add it, and then there'll be it like comes up in a color so you know what it's relating to. So you'll get like on this one, for instance, you'll get three what is it, one, two, three things. So you'll get like you
picture,
can change the
title,
image,
button,
and then you can change text, and then you can set the button name.
Is that going live?
Well, it's live now, but I'm sourcing like
testing
developers, getting developers to make them. So we've got a few already. Amy's made a couple, but it really does, massively help with, the whole SEO thing, because it's going to, increase engagement and all that. So, we can add this one. I mean, I think that's a really good one as an example, the background with the text over the top. And then all you do is you'll press it here, and then it'll come up, and there'll be a similar section to this, but it will be like a colored background, and then you'll know it's relating to that block. And then you upload picture, and then go from there. But going to yours, so for instance, like on this one, you could make the wedding page even more impressive by adding, some of these sections.
I think, did Fig and Bramble trial it for you?
Well, Fig and Bramble have actually switched. I don't know how long that'll be, but they switched to Wix, I think. They're still using the Florist Touch shop, but they switched to Wix because they basically found making their custom website exactly what they wanted, much more possible. So I said to them, well, that's fine. It's, good for you. Like, they did do a really good job, which is that partly sparked. I mean, we had it in the pipeline anyway, but then I said, oh, by the way, just to let you know, we're adding this kind of custom section so that if you do want to get the homepage and the other service pages back onto Florist Touch, we can basically replicate what you've made in Wix. So as you can see, they've got like a really nice section here, luxurious, sustainable text. And they've got some other fancy bits here as well. And again, Amy can kind of do this, which is, really cool. But yeah, so, I think they'll do, very well. I mean, historically, wedding florists have often gone into like, the roots of Wix and things like this, because, there is a lot of customization. It's not without its pitfalls. I mean, there was lots of bugs I told them about because, some of the things weren't working. Thankfully, this is going to be possible.
So back to the question of trying to up those words without it being samey. Does it just have to be samey, so that if I say florist in Porchester, because Porchester is one of my words, I just have to kind of put that in, and that's what might help it improve?
Well, it's not, I mean, you don't have to go extreme. It's not like you have to have, always 200 words. It's more about seeing it holistically of how long can we get this person to stay on this particular page, because it's so interesting and so kind of gripping. And obviously you've got like videos you can add as well if you do videos, which naturally going to keep people on there. It might sound kind of bad, but it's, if you imagine how a lot of services work these days, where it's like all about engagement, like TikTok and Instagram, they all just want, lots of time on, people spend lots of time on it. It just so happens that Google also use that as a way to find out how, where to put the websites, basically.
Okay, thank you.
So yeah, I think, so it's a general overview. I didn't want to go into super amount of detail. I mean, there's a few slides that's worth showing you. Try and find some interesting ones. So like, a very brief overview. This one is from the other slideshow. So we've got, Google My Business as a good example, and shown all the things that you can do with it. So, on here you've got like, the full address, you've got the ability to add categories. On the Florist, you've got the reviews, There's some products there as well, profiles, links. So this, you can do a huge amount of things with Google My Business. And then there's an example one that's obviously not doing well because they haven't claimed it, and they haven't uploaded pictures and things like this. This one again is quite interesting because it's basically showing you, depending on what images you put on Google My Business, you'll then get different types of interest. So the one on the bottom right, for instance, is mostly funeral, because they've just got most funeral items, whereas the top left has got a mix. So there's some wedding ones. They've got a funeral section, picture, and then you're going to get those kind of more varied interests from those people, rather than a specific one. Obviously, for instance, the top right one is purely weddings because they've just got wedding photos. So it's quite intuitive, but it's worth mentioning. I'll just check if there's any other worth it slides. Yeah, I'd say that's hopefully that's like a good overview. I do hope to do a bit better next time, with to get better, like, and I'm speaking to many people, but the key point I think I've got across mostly, like SEO has massively changed over time, and we're just going to make the tools as we already have, but obviously promote them so that florists know what to do, and then on the homepage we will add an ability to we'll add packages that florists can, if they want to pay for it, where we spend a whole lot more time on their individual pages. But yeah, I mean, is there any other questions though? Like, I didn't want to.
I think it's been really good.
Okay.
Really helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's it is naturally it is a little bit of a boring topic, and it's trying to keep it as exciting as possible. But in some ways it is very intuitive. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just how good website can you make, and I feel obviously a little bit bad in terms of because we've always said, oh, £85 setup fee, which I personally don't do anymore. Amy does all the onboarding, but there's only a certain amount of time Amy can spend on the sites. So it is a little bit like a gamble in some ways where, if you've got a tiny bit of money and go into the arcade, well, you might not get that much money back, and it's how much investment you put into it. You get some florists who have got very little money, but they've got lots of time. So then they can spend their time doing the website up, making it really fancy. Some you get the opposite. Some florists we get, they've got lots of money, but not much time. So we say okay, well, we can do this. But the more struggle is when a florist says they don't have any time to do it themselves and they don't have any money to pay us to do something even more special on their sites. And I personally don't like, letting any florist down. But I think, there's been quite some time where I've been thinking, okay, I really want to, help a lot of florists, but I don't know what to really help them with. I don't know a ton about SEO. I knew a fair amount, but it's changed so much recently. So that's why, I've like hired Elizabeth, who's that's her career. She's her main profession is SEO. And she's going to join us next time, hopefully, join us then, and then you can ask her more questions. But the I've got the general point across. And we're basically, without going into the super technical details of other little bits and pieces, because it can get quite boring quite quickly, and it takes some time to kind of find out what the actual core message is, and
I think it's good, sort of like this, just keeping in touch, and because we all fiddle around, don't we, and think, oh, God, I hope that works. But I find it does. When I change certain words and then I go into Google just to have a look, and sometimes I'm at the top of where I want to be, and then it will move down again. Do you know what I mean? But it's quite interesting to see that it does work when you sort of put certain words in. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, I think it'd be good. Sorry.
Yeah, it's so we've got, we have paid for some special tools like this one here, when we can really track, all the florists and how they're doing. It is like an individual, per task, because obviously there's so many florists. And there's a certain amount we can do for resource we have. But if any florist, really goes in and asks us, okay, how am I doing? Can you get some statistics from this, from the new tool? We're more than happy to. So this is a paid tool. And it gives us a really good insight into what's happening with each florist site. I don't know, if I went to like Helen's, for instance, you can get some information and interest from it. So if I go to here,
it's actually understanding what all this means, because to me, looking at graphs and things, I'm not very good at analysing that sort of information, and I think, and then I run the opposite direction because I don't understand it.
Yeah, well, this one, some of these are quite quite simple and nice to know about. So for instance, you've got Florist from Brentwood, and it says you're on position 10, and it says that was that was increased in 2 places from February 2024. So
Okay.
you were off of the first page, like in February, and now you've gone higher by 2 places. So that means because you're number 10 and there's 10 results per page,
okay,
you're now at the very bottom of that one. And that's the kind of like a very good point to to kind of break through, because as soon as you're on number 1, page number 1, you're doing it massively helps, basically, because then people can naturally see your site, and you can see, for instance, you click this graph and it tells you where it's been in the past 6 months or something. So let's have a look. So if I go to
sorry to butt in. So is this something that we can look at ourselves, or is this something that only you can
No, so this is a tool that I pay for. But a florist can, I can provide any information from it.
Okay.
It's not super, critical for florists to see this stuff, but because there's a lot of things that, they're just not that important. It's more a case of if a florist said to me, "Oh, I really want to improve SEO. Can I pay a certain amount of money?" And I do a whole lot of research and I use this tool to find out. So, for instance, I don't know, if I click backlinks, I can find out how many people are linking to you. So you've got like Blake Hall, myself, Florist Touch. Then you've got Whimsical Wonderland Weddings.
Yeah.
So
it's like a wedding blog.
Yeah, so that's a really good one. And it's also using a thing called do follows. So that's basically saying to Google, I'm linking to the, to Helen Sheard Floral Designs. I also want to tell Google that I'm linking to them.
Okay.
Yeah. So that,
I mean, that's pure luck I've done that. I don't know how I've done it, but I've managed it by including them.
Nice.
Well done.
Well, what you can do is if you, as a florist, if you're a bit more established and you're on Facebook with some followers, if you link to someone else and then you say to them, "Oh, I've linked to you," and then you could either hint, "Oh, would you link back?" or even just say that I've linked to you. They might go, "Oh, I'll link back to you," and then instantly, you've got like a backlink. So that can help. Let's have a look. See what else. Which one is your site again? Anyone else's one? I can put this in.
Mine. You can do mine. Solent stems.
Yeah, do yours, Bonnie.
Solent stems.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay, and then we can see if there's any insight. I can find out from here. Obviously, the graphs are indicating different things. This one in particular, for example, is referring domains. So how many websites are linking to yours? And as you noticed, so it was one in 2021, and now you've got 13. And you don't need actually tons of backlinks, by the way. Even a few few ones that are very powerful, like very well known. You know, if like BBC linked to you, you know, suddenly you
I
probably
wish.
like hundreds.
That'd be good.
Yeah, you know, or like some sort of wedding blog, or
Yeah, well, I've just the ones that you've ever recommended, like Yale and um um Cyclec and all the ones that you mentioned, I
yeah,
just went and did.
yeah, yeah, that's great. So and then I can see that on here. So we, you know, we try to link all the florist sites on our own website because it does seem to help them. So the first one is obviously ours. Then you've got Yale, and then you do get random ones. I mean, there's an ITX OFT. I don't know what that is. Investing O
No,
Sport.
it's yeah, is that exactly? It's like when you actually then scroll and you look down, is
Hmm.
I mean that's quite interesting. You appear on something like the Flying Scotsman, some listing you've never even heard of, but
Yeah,
they've pulled you in, and it's like okay,
yeah. I mean, this one you got Bride Book. That's
yep,
definitely relevant. You got a fine art styled park or
yeah,
something.
yeah,
Um,
photo shoot.
5 super florists in Hampshire, and that's Elizabeth James. Um, so you got listed on this one. Don't know where you are, might be around here. Okay, so if it's Solent, let me
My
type.
God, I've never heard
Okay,
of it.
so there you go. So you've been linked on this blog.
Wow, I learned something today.
Yeah. That definitely helps. Um, and then if I go to organic keywords, and we can see some of the history. And you've got so you will often find on these you kind of get some strange ones. You'll come up for quite high. So you've got wooden wedding arch,
Mm,
and you're
that's
being
quite
ranked
new.
for 16 on there. Um, you got average cost of wedding flowers UK,
Blog.
Christmas wreath kit. Um, and if I do position, you can then see the ones that let's have a look, the highest one. Um, so yeah, that it's not um that you haven't got any ones that are within the top 10 at the moment. So
Still working on
we can
it.
help with that.
Still work in progress.
Yeah, if I go to your site and just make sure, see this, see, you know what I was referring to earlier
Yeah,
about targeting many. So you've got on here
too
Wedding
many.
Forest, Hampshire, Portsmouth, Southampton, Gosport. So, you know, that's a huge amount of, you know, keywords that you're targeting. Um, as I mentioned, it's not bad to target lots of keywords as long as you're established in some of them. So my advice on this would
Right.
be
Wrap
hone
it
in
down a
on,
bit.
yeah, hone in on one. Hampshire one, I personally, you know, that one, it's never been that successful, the Hampshire one, because it's quite um, it's not a very well searched for keyword, and you know, I've had like a few florists try to get that one, and it's just not been very successful. Whereas like Portsmouth and Southampton have been, you know, much more fruitful, basically. But if you're not, you know, if you're not ranking very well at the moment, as we've seen on this one, then it would be way better
Okay, cool. Thank you.
to target one. And
My
also
homework.
from the look of that, it looks you're specifically going for wedding and events. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So naturally, okay, so that's, you know, that one's, I know this isn't your fault, obviously, this is our fault, but that picture is probably a bit too big.
I know. It's like don't know. You can't. I don't know how to change the
No,
size.
no, that's ours. I'll put my hand up to that.
Oh, you have to fix that bit then.
Yeah, I'll fix that. Yeah. I like this. Again, though, we can still make it better, you know, with those custom sections. Um, so if I were to go to wedding florist, what is it? I mean, which one? Sorry, which one would you want to get target for? Was it like Southampton or Portsmouth or?
Oh, that's $1 million question, isn't it?
Okay, so if I go to your one, so it stems, and then look at I'll tell you what, maybe we should just do the map, wherever the map is gone now. Um, So here we go. So we could see there's Portsmouth. So that's got 295, and then Southampton is 575. Okay, so if I were you and I was in that, one of the florists, I would go for probably Portsmouth first because it's it does seem easier. Um, and yeah, I mean, you've got some other ones. I mean, if you wanted to get higher even quicker, you could then go for like Cosham, for instance. And then once you start ranking better for Cosham when you go in the top 10, and then you get to maybe 8, then you could start to branch out to like Portsmouth as an example.
Okay. Yeah.
But I think that's where my thing would be going first.
Recommendations for my
Yeah,
homework.
yeah. Because otherwise you're outside of that you're just ranking, not too bad for like different random bits like Wooden Arch Wedding, and not the ones you really want to go for.
Makes sense. Thank you.
That's all right. Then I'm trying to think. And yeah, I'll probably make the homepage as well much more wedding orientated. So on this section, you've got okay, so there's this big section of text here. And I personally would want to split it up with an image.
I know I've chopped that and changed that recently because I then look at the recommendations and goes, you haven't got any blah. And I think, I'll take it out, put it back in. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
I've chopped it and changed it a bit.
Yeah. I don't worry too much about the 200 word thing. Just focus on, what people
Okay,
get really engaged by and
Thank you.
spend time on. I mean, we can see if I go to your one, we can see the engagement rate. If I go to the marketing section and just see what level you're at. So here we go. So you've got but yeah, your actual site at the moment is targeting Gosport, Portchester, and Portsmouth. So it's kind of even more. So if I go down, so your one isn't. So your one is 10%. And as it mentions, we recommend 15%. So it's not actually that bad at the moment. It just can be a bit. And see else. Of course, the other stats are quite interesting as well. So, for instance, we can infer lots of assumptions. So, if, for instance, you had a lot of, let's have a look, like shop visit to view item, that means they like the pictures, so they go and click. So that metric, for instance, is if I go from here, your one is an perfect example because it's more wedding based. But if I go vanilla blue flowers, I'll give you an example. So if I went here, so this metric on this one is saying they're going to the item often, so they're clicking this. But on your case, for example, this one, they're then not going here and then clicking add to basket.
That's because they're not really buyable things. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so that obviously you will get all different florists are going to get different stats. But yeah, so that one's low. And then you've got other ones that again you can infer, but we do put exactly what's happening, and and this text changes as well depending on the score. So in your case, when someone does add to the cart, they are very then likely, like almost guaranteed to buy. So that's quite nice. But your visits to inquiries could be better. So a lot of people are going to your site and not then filling in the wedding form, for instance. So, but again, you can improve that by making the some of the pages more engaging or more tempting. Some of the like wedding florists that I've seen, they have no mention of price at all, and I think having some price on there can definitely help.
Yeah, it's there, and then there's a link to a Canva page that I can just tweak every now and then. But
yeah. So some of these images, I would say they would be best off with like a collage because this image is too big for the size it's set at currently. So yeah, and that's I think that's most of it I wanted to get across. It's obviously I can be a bit more organized next time with a bit more thorough details on the slideshow. But hopefully that's given some, the participants some insight. Welcome to ask any other questions.
No, I think that's great.
Really helpful.
I just have one question. The map that you put up earlier, just now for Bonnie, I think it is. Yeah. How do I get to that for mine to be able to see which are the towns nearest me or the cities nearest me to?
Yeah, that's
where
fine.
do I find that? I'm trying to find it use my phone and do it at the same time, but I can't find it.
No, that's fine. So when you click settings on Florist Touch, and you scroll about halfway down, above the map, it says, please refer to the keyword places map. And when you select that, it comes up with this, huge map. You can just scroll around. I mean, I think it's, you can use it on your phone. And the grey ones are ones that are lower search results. But, they're still, some of them are fine. I mean, this one, Chipping Norton is grey, but it's 98. So that's not too bad. And then the red ones are like over 100. So this one, Stratford upon Avon, sorry, is 165. So that's a good one. And then the yellow ones are more, I think they're more than 150. I think that's what it is, But it is one point I want to get across is relative. So if someone's doing very well on Facebook, then by all means, you can target a high one. But it's just a case of if someone's like very newly established and then they want to, get to Solihull, it's just going to take a long time. It really depends on the competition and how well established they are. I mean, also, if you've got an old domain, that can really help as well. Whereas a lot of florists we get are brand new florists, and so no one's been able to link to them because they don't have a domain. So as soon as they get a domain, then people can start linking to them, so they get backlinks. And so that's one thing. Another thing to point out as well before that again cool is I have had some florists where they've only been successful specifically because they're big on Instagram, as an example. So every kind of florist can have their own unique way of being successful. Some are strictly on Facebook, for instance. They don't do very well on Google or Instagram, but they get a whole lot of interaction on Facebook and they get all their sales from there as well. So it's a real mixed bag. I personally obviously suggest to have as many, sources as you can, but to not also, thin down your efforts too much to cater to every single one. So, you might want to go, okay, well, we do really well on Facebook. We do quite well on Google. Let's just stick to those. Rather than going, okay, I'm now, I have to put like a whole lot less effort into each one. I have to put less effort into Google, into Facebook, because I'm now taking on Instagram and some other service, It's also a good idea so if I were to go to florist in, wedding, because obviously if you're doing wedding flowers, you go wedding flowers in, I know, Manchester. It's worth Googling it because you will find, so for instance, you'll see it says Hitched. So Hitched is number one. And unless you're on Hitched, then all the people clicking that first result are not going to see you because they've got their own little directory listing.
Yeah.
So it's not a bad idea to see yourself what's coming up. And I don't personally know what Hitched plans are. I don't know if it's free or if you have to pay. But
you have to pay, I think.
It's both. That you can get a light version on Hitched where you can be free. It's Bridebook that was free, which isn't anymore. So if you're on it before they changed it, it's free. It's not anymore.
So are you saying that it used to be Bridebook?
No, Hitched there's two platforms. Hitched is free as a free version and a paid version. So you're in the top so many on the first page, and you can be in a different area but appear, say like you were in West Sussex, but you could appear in Hampshire as well on that first page if you pay.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
I don't pay.
No. It's
Pay
you've got
for
to
enough.
weigh up the options, don't you, really?
Yeah. I
Uh,
actually get quite a lot of traction from it, but it's another backlink for free, isn't it?
yeah, this is it. Yeah. But yeah, we're gonna do like a review on all the florists. Um, anyone that we think are underperforming, and helping them out, and at the very least, letting them know, like, from what we check, we recommend keeping one keyword out of all of them, because they might have been running for maybe more than 6 months or a year, and they're not ranking within the top 10 for the one that they want. So we'll just do a review of all of them and say, like, yeah, you're going for three of them keywords and they're all very competitive. It's best to go with one. And then, we'll just kind of go through that. But yeah, I mean, it's only been recently, really, in the past year or so, I've really focused my attention on this kind of aspect. Having so many florists, um, it's my attention was more a case of, okay, get the features in, because lots of features, lots florists want lots of features. So a whole lot of effort was put onto that. And whereas now we're obviously getting lots of ones who will stay with us for a very long time, and then they now want to improve their sales. So now it's kind of like, okay, really pay attention to the ones that we've got, and then really help them out. And I'd rather that than put a lot of effort onto, new ones that sign up. It would be better to get the existing ones happier, and then obviously probably get some referrals as well. But yeah, we don't want to. The whole plan is to keep the ones that we've got, as many as we can, and you know increase as many, as much as we can for the sales for them. So this is the whole point of reinvesting back into our customer base. But it's and I will say as well, even if it does sound a bit harsh, but I'd rather tell a florist, it is actually worth going to Wix for a year, because you'll pay £2, £5 a month to get a bit more established, rather than going straight towards Florist Touch and paying £35, or whatever they're paying for a month, Florist Touch, depending on their status. Than because the whole Florist Touch is very comprehensive. It's very featureful, and it might not be right for every single florist. So I said to Amy, look, sometimes there might be an occasion where a florist says to us, "Oh, well, I'm brand new. I don't have much money. Can you give me a site?" And I'm thinking, well, we probably should say to them, well, you should probably go to Wix first, or one of these very cheap sites. And then once they do have a few sales coming in, then they can switch to us. I'd rather that than say, "Oh no, join us," and then spend a long time with us, and not get much success. So I do think it is important to kind of lay out the facts, and as well. I wasn't able to be as accurate back in the day, because obviously I didn't have as much SEO knowledge, and we didn't have as many customers either to really go, okay, here's a strategy, this is what we should do. Whereas now, over time, we know how successful florists can get within a certain amount of time, based upon their own kind of content, how good the pictures are, and so forth. So we can be more accurate, and therefore we can be more specific in advice on what they should do. You know, so yeah, hopefully that's
Okay.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
It's all good, and it's all a good starting point for us all to progress a bit more. So it'll sort of help us gradually improve, just by doing the little snippets that you're doing with us as well, which is good. Thank you.
yeah, and also I do this webinar, this is only just going to be one of many of them. So I do want to get florists to also help each other out, not just on the Facebook group, but also on the voice call, because you can explain a lot very quickly, and also like a more of a kind of community as well, because I think that there's so much that a florist can help each other out with, and little tips and pits, like as you know, as you mentioned before about the bride book and kind of things like this, which, you know, some of the things I won't be aware of, like the services bride book and things like this. So,
yeah.
All right, well,
good. Thank you.
Yeah, you're more than welcome to ask any questions on the post after this, and yeah, hopefully provide even more insight kind of thing and be even more help.
Brilliant. Okay.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Tom, and for your time.
No problem. Happy to help.
See you later, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Take care now. Bye.